Captain Elijah Morgan stood at the observation deck of the UESA Frontier, looking out at the strange ship that had appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system 3 days ago. The vessel was unlike anything humans had built. It curved in odd places and seemed to shimmer slightly as if not entirely solid. "Still trying to make sense of it?" asked Dr. Lisa Wright as she joined him at the window. Elijah nodded. 30 years in space, and I never thought I'd see this day. The message had come yesterday, clear and in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We represent the Galactic Confederacy, an alliance of 17 spacefaring species. We wish to establish peaceful relations and invite you to send representatives to a diplomatic summit." Earth had gone wild with the news. Humanity was not alone. But what struck Elijah as odd was the final line of the message. All human delegates must be completely unarmed during all meetings. It seemed reasonable enough, but something in the wording bothered him. "Command wants us ready in 6 hours," Lisa said. "We'll take the shuttle over with Ambassador Kelly and her team." As the xenolinguist assigned to the first contact team, Lisa had spent the last 2 days studying the message for cultural clues. She looked tired but excited. "Do you think the unarmed requirement is standard for them?" Elijah asked. Lisa shrugged. "Probably. I'd expect any first contact protocol to include security measures." 6 hours later, Elijah led the small team into the shuttle. Besides himself and Lisa, there was Ambassador Susan Kelly, security officer Kevin Phillips, and Dr. Alan Cooper, their medical specialist. Each wore the formal blue uniform of the United Earth Space Agency, with Earth's flag on one shoulder and the UESA emblem on the other. As they approached the alien vessel, Elijah felt his heart racing. The shuttle bay that opened to receive them was vast and gleaming with lights and colors he couldn't quite name. "Remember," Ambassador Kelly said quietly, "we represent all of humanity today." When the shuttle doors opened, they were greeted by 2 very different beings. One stood nearly 7 feet tall, covered in feathers of deep purple and blue, with 4 arms folded in what appeared to be a formal pose. The other was shorter than the average human, with smooth bluish skin that glistened like it was wet. I'm Admiral Zixtol," the tall feathered being said in perfect English. "This is Diplomat Vroon. We welcome you aboard the Harmony." Ambassador Kelly stepped forward. "Thank you for your invitation. I am Susan Kelly, representing Earth." The alien's eyes, both species had 4 of them, kept darting to the human's hands. Elijah noticed this but didn't comment. "Before we proceed," Vroon said, his voice bubbling slightly, "we must confirm you are unarmed as requested." "Of course," Ambassador Kelly replied. "We have brought no weapons." A third alien entered, holding a device that looked like a thin tablet. This being was insectoid, with compound eyes and delicate limbs. It moved around each human, scanning them from head to toe. "They are carrying no devices classified as weapons," the insectoid reported. "However, they have not been modified as expected." Admiral Zixtol's feathers ruffled slightly. "It was our understanding that you would come unarmed." "We are unarmed," Elijah said. "We carry no weapons of any kind." The aliens exchanged glances that even Elijah could tell contained confusion. "Perhaps a cultural misunderstanding," Vroon suggested. "We will proceed with caution." The humans were led through corridors of the ship, where they saw glimpses of other alien species watching them with what seemed like a mixture of curiosity and concern. Elijah noticed that many stayed at a distance, and some even had what looked like shields activated when the humans passed. They were brought to a large room with a circular table. Various beings were already seated around it, all very different from each other and from humans. Some had tentacles, others had multiple limbs, and one appeared to be made mostly of light contained in a translucent shell. "Please, be seated," Admiral Zixtol said, indicating 5 empty chairs. As they sat down, Elijah realized that their chairs were different from the others. They were positioned farther from the table, creating a greater distance between the humans and the aliens. The meeting began with introductions from each species. The humans learned about the Galactic Confederacy, a loose alliance formed for trade, scientific exchange, and mutual defense. Earth was being considered for membership, which would open up vast opportunities for humanity. During the discussion, Lisa reached for her tablet to take notes. 3 alien security officers immediately stepped forward, their postures tense. Lisa froze, then slowly continued her movement, pulling out her tablet with deliberate care. "Is there a problem?" Ambassador Kelly asked. "No problem," Admiral Zixtol said, though his feathers were now standing on end. "Please continue with caution." As the meeting progressed, Dr. Lisa Wright noticed a pattern. Whenever any human used their hands, gesturing while speaking, reaching for something, or typing on their tablets, the aliens reacted with subtle signs of alarm. Halfway through the meeting, a server brought drinks to the table. As Lisa reached for her glass, she accidentally knocked it over. Water spilled across the table. "I'm so sorry," she said, instinctively reaching to clean up the mess. 3 alien security officers immediately activated shields, creating a glowing barrier between the humans and the rest of the table. The room went silent. Admiral Zixtol stood up. "Perhaps we should take a short recess." When the aliens had left the room, the humans gathered close. "Did you see that?" Lisa whispered. "They reacted when I reached toward the water." "They've been watching our hands this whole time," Elijah said. "Every time we gesture or reach for something, they tense up." "That's what they meant by unarmed," Kevin realized. "They're afraid of our hands." Ambassador Kelly looked thoughtful. "But why? Every species we've seen has some kind of manipulative appendages." "Not like ours," Lisa said. "Look at the Admiral. His forearms end in what look like specialized tools, not generalized grippers like our hands. And Vroon's appendages seem good for swimming, but not for fine manipulation." "So when they asked us to come unarmed," Elijah began, "they might have expected us to—" "What? Remove our hands?" Alan said with disbelief. "Or at least restrain them somehow," Lisa suggested. "The scanner alien said we hadn't been modified as expected." Ambassador Kelly stood up. "If we're going to represent Earth in this confederacy, we need to understand this issue and address it. Our hands are not weapons." "Well, technically they can be," Kevin pointed out, "but that's not their primary purpose." When the aliens returned, Admiral Zixtol approached carefully. "We apologize for the abrupt recess. We understand you may not be aware of certain concerns." "Admiral," Ambassador Kelly said, "we believe there's been a misunderstanding about what it means for humans to be unarmed. Perhaps you could explain your concerns more directly?" The Admiral's feathers smoothed slightly. "Of course, it is the appendages you call hands. No other species in the Confederacy possesses anything quite like them. They are uniquely concerning." And so began humanity's strange journey to understand why having hands made them the most feared species in the galaxy. The human delegation arrived at the massive space station known as Harmony Sphere 3 days after their first meeting with the aliens. The station orbited a star with no planets, positioned in neutral space between several star systems claimed by different Confederacy members. Elijah stared out the shuttle window as they approached. The station was enormous, a perfect sphere with countless lights and docking bays dotting its surface. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like bees around a hive. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered beside him. Ambassador Kelly nodded. "And now we're part of it." Their shuttle was directed to a docking bay on the southern hemisphere of the station. As they disembarked, they were met by Diplomat Vroon, whose blue skin seemed to glisten even more under the station's lights. "Welcome to Harmony Sphere," Vroon said. "Please follow me to your quarters. The first General Assembly will begin in 6 hours." The corridors of the station were filled with beings of every description. Some walked on multiple legs, others floated, and a few seemed to roll. Many stopped to stare at the humans, and Elijah noticed the same reaction they had seen on the ship, a mixture of curiosity and unease. Their quarters were spacious and comfortable, but Elijah immediately noticed something strange. Everything had rounded edges. There were no sharp corners, no loose objects that could be easily grasped, and the furniture seemed designed to keep them sitting with their hands visible. Check this out, Kevin called from the food preparation area. He was trying to open what appeared to be a refrigeration unit, but instead of a handle, there was a pad that responded to voice commands. No handles anywhere, Lisa noted, examining the bathroom door, which slid open automatically as she approached. And look at these, Alan added, pointing to the dining table where meals had been set out. There were no utensils, just food in bowls that could be picked up directly. Ambassador Kelly frowned. They've gone to great lengths to ensure we don't need to use our hands for anything but the most basic tasks. After settling in, the humans prepared for the assembly. They were provided with special gloves, thin, flexible, but clearly designed to limit dexterity. A compromise, Ambassador Kelly explained. I spoke with Vroon. Wearing these will make the other species more comfortable. The assembly hall was enormous, with seating for what must have been representatives from over 30 different species. The humans were escorted to a special section, slightly separated from the others. Grand Arbiter Quool, an ancient being that looked like a floating jellyfish with dozens of glowing tendrils, presided over the meeting. Its voice was translated through the station systems coming from speakers near each delegation. We welcome our new friends from Earth, the Grand Arbiter announced. Their application for Confederacy membership will be reviewed in due course. For now, we extend the hand of friendship. There was a ripple of what sounded like nervous laughter from several delegates at the mention of hand. The meeting covered trade agreements, boundary disputes, and scientific cooperation. Throughout it all, Elijah noticed security personnel, mostly the tall bird-like species like Admiral Zixtal, watching the humans closely. After the assembly, there was a reception with food and drinks. The humans were again provided special accommodations, food that required no cutting or handling with tools. It was during this reception that Elijah noticed one of the insectoid beings watching them from a distance. Unlike the others, it seemed more curious than afraid. When their eyes met, the alien approached. I am Tekmal, it said in a clicking voice. Science officer from the Xandri Collective. You are Captain Morgan? Elijah nodded. Please call me Elijah. Tekmal's antennae twitched. I find your species fascinating. Would you mind answering some questions? As they talked, Elijah found Tekmal refreshingly direct. The alien asked about Earth, human biology, and culture without the nervous hesitation shown by others. May I ask you something in return? Elijah finally said. Why is everyone so concerned about our hands? Tekmal's compound eyes reflected the light. Is it not obvious? Your manipulative appendages are unique in the Confederacy. But everyone has some way to manipulate objects, Elijah pointed out. Yes, but not like yours, Tekmal explained. Look, around, Elijah surveyed the room. The bird-like species had different tools at the end of each arm, one for grasping, one for cutting, one for fine manipulation. The jellyfish beings used their tendrils, each specialized for a different task. The insectoids like Tekmal had appendages that looked like tiny tools. Every species either evolves specialized appendages or creates technology to perform different functions, Tekmal continued. Only humans have developed generalized grippers capable of both incredible precision and significant force. You can manipulate delicate objects, create complex tools, and the alien hesitated. Apply deadly force with the same appendages. So that's what makes us dangerous? Elijah asked. The versatility of our hands? Precisely, Tekmal said. Your hands can stroke a child's face gently one moment and form a deadly weapon the next. No other species has evolved this way. Later that evening, the human delegation gathered in their quarters to discuss what they had learned. It makes sense now, Lisa said. They see our hands as built-in weapons that we can never truly put down. But that's ridiculous, Kevin argued. Our hands are tools first, weapons only in extreme circumstances. Ambassador Kelly held up her gloved hand. To us, yes. But think about it from their perspective. Every other species has to pick up a weapon to be dangerous. We're always potentially armed. So what do? Alan asked. We can't change our biology. No, Ambassador Kelly agreed. but we can help them understand us better. Tomorrow at the diplomatic briefing, I want each of you to demonstrate how humans use their hands primarily as tools for creation, not destruction. The next morning, the humans attended a smaller meeting with representatives from the Confederacy's diplomatic corps. Ambassador Kelly had arranged for a demonstration. As the meeting began, a small robot entered the room carrying a tray. On it was a piece of Earth technology, a broken communication device. "With your permission," Ambassador Kelly said, "I would like to show you something." She nodded to Alan, who removed his gloves and picked up the device. With careful, precise movements, he opened the casing and began to repair the delicate circuitry inside. The aliens watched, fascinated and still somewhat fearful, as Alan's fingers moved with incredible dexterity, fixing connections too small to see clearly without magnification. "Our hands evolved this way because we are builders," Ambassador Kelly explained as Alan worked. "Yes, they can be used to harm, but their primary purpose, their evolutionary advantage, is creation." When Alan finished and the device powered up, displaying a holographic message of peace, some of the tension in the room eased. "Fascinating," said one of the diplomats, a crystalline being whose voice chimed like bells. "Perhaps we have misunderstood." As the meeting ended, Elijah noticed Tekmal speaking excitedly with Grand Arbiter Kuhl, both of them glancing at the human's hands. "I think we might be making progress," Elijah whispered to Lisa. "Maybe," she replied, "but we still have a long way to go." Outside the meeting room, Admiral Zixitol waited for them. "An interesting demonstration," he said, "but I must remind you that not all are convinced. The Vraxians, in particular, remain concerned." "The Vraxians?" Elijah asked. "They will be arriving tomorrow," the Admiral explained. "Their leader, General Krax, has expressed strong opinions about including potentially dangerous species in the Confederacy." Ambassador Kelly straightened her uniform. "Then we'll just have to convince him too." "It will not be easy, Admiral," Zixtol warned. "The Vraxians have a saying, 'A weapon unused is still a weapon.'" As they walked back to their quarters, Elijah couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenge was yet to come. The main conference chamber of Harmony Sphere was shaped like a giant bowl, with rows of seats rising up from a central speaking area. The human delegation arrived early, led by Ambassador Kelly. Today was important. The Confederacy would vote on whether to begin the process of accepting Earth as a member. A new face joined their group this morning. Ambassador Charlotte Reynolds had arrived from Earth overnight. As Earth's most experienced diplomat, she had been sent to help with the critical negotiations. "Ambassador Reynolds, welcome to Harmony Sphere," Elijah said. Charlotte smiled. She was an older woman with silver hair and calm eyes. "Thank you, Captain. I've read all your reports. You've done well so far." "The Vraxians arrived this morning," Lisa whispered as they took their seats. "That's them over there." Elijah looked where she pointed. The Vraxians were reptilian with scales that shifted color like mood rings. They stood upright on powerful legs, their bodies covered in natural armor. What struck Elijah most was their upper limbs. Each Vraxian had one arm ending in a wickedly sharp blade, and another with 3 finger-like appendages. "They evolved as hunter warriors," Lisa explained. "The blade is for fighting, the other limb for carrying." "They can't put their weapons down because they're built in," Alan observed. Charlotte nodded. "Precisely why they're so concerned about us. They see our hands as similar, natural weapons we can never truly surrender." The chamber filled quickly. Grand Arbiter Kuhl floated to the center, its jellyfish-like body glowing with soft blue light. "We gathered today to consider the petition of Earth to begin the membership process," Kuhl announced. "As is tradition, we will hear from those who support and those who oppose." Admiral Zixtol spoke first, listing the benefits Earth could bring to the Confederacy: rich culture, unique scientific approaches, and valuable resources. Several other species added their support. Then a Vraxian moved to the center. His scales were deep red with black patterns, and he carried himself with unmistakable authority. "I am General Krax of the Vraxian Unity," he announced. His voice was surprisingly soft for his fierce appearance. I speak against this petition. The humans represent an unacceptable danger. Murmurs spread through the chamber as Krax continued. Look at their history. Countless wars fought with their bare hands, before they even developed tools. And now they ask us to accept them while they remain armed with the most versatile weapons evolution has ever produced. Ambassador Charlotte stood. With respect, General, you misunderstand our hands. They evolved primarily as tools for creation, not destruction. So you claim, Krax replied. Yet I have studied your species. Your hands can crush, strangle, punch, and kill even without weapons. No other species in the Confederacy possesses such inherently dangerous appendages. The same could be said of your natural blade, Charlotte pointed out calmly. Krax's scales flashed bright orange. My blade has one purpose: defense. It cannot build a bomb or program a weapon system or pilot a warship. Your hands can do all these things and more. The debate continued for over an hour. Charlotte defended humanity with dignity, but Elijah could see many delegates were troubled by Krax's arguments. Suddenly, the lights in the chamber dimmed and warning signals sounded. Grand Arbiter Quool's voice came over the speakers. Remain calm. We are experiencing a minor gravitational stabilizer malfunction. Please stay in your seats. The chamber shuddered slightly. Above them, one of the lighting fixtures broke loose from the ceiling and began falling directly toward a small alien child, sitting with what appeared to be its parent. Without thinking, Alan leaped from his seat. His medical training and quick reflexes took over as he pushed through the crowd, reached up and caught the heavy fixture just before it struck the child. For a moment, the chamber went silent. Alan stood there, holding the metal fixture that would have seriously injured the small alien. Then he gently set it down and checked if the child was okay. Chaos erupted. Several species activated personal shields. Others retreated from the humans. Security personnel rushed forward, surrounding the human delegation. You see, General Krax shouted above the noise. See how quickly they move, how strong those hands are. That human crossed 20 feet and intercepted a falling object in seconds. He saved that child, Lisa protested. Yes, Krax agreed, surprising everyone. And with the same speed and strength, he could have harmed it instead. That is precisely our concern. Grand Arbiter Quool called for order. As the chamber quieted, Charlotte slowly removed her diplomatic gloves and walked to the center of the floor. The action was so unexpected that even the security officers paused. Charlotte placed her bare hands palms down on the transparent podium. The chamber went silent. We understand your fears now, she said, her voice carrying through the space. And I see that we have approached this incorrectly. Yes, our hands can harm, but they were not evolved primarily as weapons. She turned her hands over, showing her palms. These hands nurse our children, they heal our sick. They build our homes and create our art. They plant seeds and write poetry and comfort those in pain. With deliberate movements, she formed her right hand into a fist, then slowly opened it again. Many aliens flinched at the gesture. Yes, this can be a weapon, she acknowledged. But that is a choice. Just as General Krax chooses not to strike with his natural blade, we choose how to use our hands. She stepped back from the podium and bowed slightly to Grand Arbiter Quool. We ask not for you to ignore your concerns, but to understand us better before you judge. Quool's tendrils gently waved. A wise request. I propose we adjourn for today and resume tomorrow after reflection. As the delegates filed out, Tekmal approached the humans. That was most interesting, the insectoid scientist said. Dr. Cooper's action was both concerning and impressive. The speed of human reflexes exceeds our calculations. He saved that child without even thinking, Elijah pointed out. Yes, Tekmal agreed. That is both reassuring and troubling. If your helping reflexes are so quick, your defensive ones must be equally rapid. After the delegates left, General Krax approached Charlotte. His scales had shifted to a calmer blue-green. Ambassador, he said, your words were well chosen, but you must understand that what makes your species valuable also makes you dangerous. We could say the same about your blade, General. Charlotte replied. Cracks made a sound that might have been a laugh. True. Perhaps that is why I fear your kind. We understand each other too well. He turned to leave, then added, Tomorrow I will still oppose your membership, but I believe you deserve a chance to prove yourselves. Back in their quarters, the human delegation gathered to discuss what had happened. I think this was staged, Kevin said. That fixture didn't just happen to fall. I agree, Charlotte said. General Cracks wanted to provoke a reaction. Well, he got one, Alan said. I'm sorry if I made things worse. Charlotte shook her head. No, you showed them the truth, that our first instinct is to help. So what's our next move? Elijah asked. Charlotte smiled. They fear what they don't understand. Tomorrow will help them understand. Outside their quarters, unseen by the humans, Tekmal was speaking quietly with Admiral Zixtol. The hand demonstrations must proceed, the insectoid scientist said. The Council needs to see all aspects of human manual capabilities. And if it confirms our fears? The Admiral asked. Knowledge is better than ignorance, Tekmal replied. Even if the truth is frightening. The next morning, Charlotte called the human delegation together before the day's meetings began. Her face was serious, but there was a spark in her eyes. I've been up all night talking with Grand Arbiter Kuhl, she said. They've agreed to let us hold a special demonstration session. We need to show the Confederacy what human hands can really do. What kind of demonstration? Elijah asked. Charlotte smiled. All kinds. Dr. Cooper will show medical techniques. I've asked Earth to send us 2 more specialists who arrived this morning. She turned as the door opened. A man and woman entered, both carrying cases. This is Dr. Nathan White, one of Earth's best surgeons, Charlotte said. And this is Grace Martinez, an artist specializing in sculpture and fine detail work. The Kuhl Council has approved a 3-hour exhibition in the main observation hall. Charlotte continued. Each major species will send representatives. This is our chance to show them that our hands are tools of creation, not weapons. The observation hall was a large circular room with a transparent dome showing the stars. When the humans arrived, they found it had been set up with several stations, each with different equipment. Delegates began to file in. Some looked curious, others wary. General Cracks arrived with a group of Raxians, their scales showing colors of skepticism and concern. Charlotte stepped to the center of the room. Thank you for coming, she said. Today we hope to help you understand human hands better. Please feel free to observe all demonstrations and ask questions. At the first station, Dr. Nathan White had set up a medical simulation. Using a holographic projection of alien anatomy provided by the station's computers, he demonstrated surgical techniques. Human hands can perform operations so delicate that we can repair blood vessels thinner than a hair, he explained to the watching aliens. Our fingers can feel the slightest differences in texture, helping us identify problems without cutting. Many aliens watched in fascination as Nathan's hands moved with incredible precision, making tiny, perfect stitches in the simulation. At another station, Lisa and Alan showed how humans use their hands for communication. They demonstrated sign language, showing how hands could speak without words. For humans who cannot hear, hands become a voice, Lisa explained. We can express any thought, any emotion, through hand movements alone. Several jellyfish-like beings similar to Grand Arbiter Kuhl seemed especially interested in this, their tendrils mimicking the human's hand movements. Across the room, Grace Martinez had set up an art station. She worked with clay, forming shapes, with quick, skilled movements of her fingers. The aliens watched as formless lumps became detailed sculptures. I'm creating representations of each major Confederacy species, Grace explained as she worked. Her fingers moved like magic, capturing the essence of each alien form. When she completed a small statue of a Vraxian warrior, she offered it to General Cracks. He took it carefully, examining the perfect details. You captured the pride stance, he said, surprise evident in his voice. How did you know? Grace smiled. I observe. My hands translate what my eyes see. Elijah and Kevin demonstrated human tool use, showing how hands could manipulate objects of many different shapes and sizes. They demonstrated tying knots, building small structures, and repairing electronic devices. Our hands evolved this way because we needed to adapt, Elijah explained. Rather than having specialized limbs for each task, we developed these all-purpose tools. Throughout the demonstration, Tekmal moved from station to station, recording everything with a small device. The insectoid scientist seemed fascinated by every aspect of human manual dexterity. Your smallest finger movements can be controlled, to within fractions of a millimeter, Tekmal noted as he watched Nathan perform a simulated microsurgery. Yet the same hands can exert enough force to break hard objects. The range is remarkable. As the exhibition continued, Elijah noticed something changing in the room. The aliens were moving closer to the humans, their body language showing less fear and more interest. Even some of the Vraxians were asking questions, their scales showing colors of curiosity rather than alarm. Near the end of the session, Charlotte invited the aliens to experience human touch directly. With your permission, we would like to show you how humans use touch to express friendship and comfort. Some aliens stepped forward cautiously. Charlotte demonstrated a formal handshake with those who had appropriate appendages. For others, she showed gentle touches on shoulders or arms. Among humans, touch creates bonds, she explained. It helps us build trust and community. The most surprising moment came when a small Vraxian child approached Grace. The child's scales showed bright patterns of curiosity. "Can you make me?" the child asked, pointing to the clay. Grace smiled and nodded. As the child stood still, Grace quickly formed a small sculpture, capturing the young Vraxian's posture and expression. When she finished, she carefully handed it to the child, who chittered with what sounded like delight. General Krax watched this interaction, his scales shifting through multiple colors. "Your hands created this," he said to Grace, indicating the sculpture his child now held carefully. "The same hands that could form a fist." Grace nodded. "The choice of how to use our hands defines us, not the hands themselves." Krax was silent for a moment. "Just as we choose how to use our natural weapons," he finally said. As the demonstration ended, Grand Arbiter Quoll floated to the center of the room. Its tendrils glowed with soft blue light. "This has been most illuminating," the Arbiter said. "The Quoll Council will now meet to discuss what we have observed today. The full Confederacy vote will take place tomorrow." As the aliens filed out, Charlotte gathered the human team. "You all did wonderfully. I think we've made real progress. Do you think it will be enough?" Elijah asked. "I don't know," Charlotte admitted. "But I believe we've given them something to think about." General Krax seemed particularly affected. "I noticed that too," Lisa said, "especially when Grace worked with the child." That evening, the humans were invited to a small reception hosted by Admiral Zixtol. When they arrived, they were surprised to find several species mingling comfortably, including a few Vraxians. "Your demonstrations were impressive," the Admiral told Charlotte. "Even General Krax has admitted that perhaps his view was too narrow." "Has he changed his vote?" Charlotte asked. Admiral Zixtol's feathers ruffled slightly. "That I cannot say. But there is movement in the Council. Several species who were undecided now lean toward accepting Earth's petition." As they spoke, Tekmal approached with another insectoid being. "Ambassadors, may I introduce Professor Zetil, our leading evolutionary biologist. She has a theory about human hands that might interest you." Professor Zetil's antennae twitched excitedly. "Yes. After studying today's demonstrations, I believe I understand why humans evolved as you did. Your species took a unique evolutionary path. Instead of specializing your limbs, you specialized your brains to control generalized appendages. This allowed for unprecedented adaptability." "That sounds accurate," Alan said. "It is fascinating," the professor continued. "Most species evolved specific physical tools. You evolved mental flexibility instead. Your true advantage is not the hand itself, but the mind that controls it." As the reception ended, Admiral Zixtol took Charlotte aside. "Tomorrow will be challenging," he warned. The vote will be close. But whatever happens, know that you have changed how many of us see humans. Back in their quarters, the human team felt cautiously optimistic. I think we've done all we can, Charlotte said. Now, we wait. Elijah looked at his own hands, seeing them in a new light. It's strange to think that something so normal to us could seem so alien to them. Not just alien, Lisa corrected. Frightening and wonderful at the same time. Outside their quarters, General Crack stood in the corridor, deep in thought. His hand, he held the small clay figure of himself that Grace had made. His scales shifted through patterns of deep thought as he made his decision about tomorrow's vote. The day of the final vote arrived. 1 year had passed since the first contact between humans and the Galactic Confederacy. In that time, much had changed. The Grand Chamber of the Confederacy was filled to capacity. Representatives from all 17 member species were present, along with observers from a dozen more. The human delegation sat in a special section near the center. Elijah, now wearing the uniform of an admiral after his promotion, looked around the chamber with amazement. A year ago, most aliens had kept their distance from humans. Today, many nodded in greeting as their eyes met his. Hard to believe how far we've come, Lisa whispered beside him. She had spent the year creating a guide to human gestures and body language that was now standard reading for Confederacy diplomats. Ambassador Charlotte Reynolds sat at the front of the human section. Her calm confidence had guided Earth through the complex negotiations of the past year. Behind her sat Alan, Nathan, Grace, and Kevin, along with new human representatives who had joined them over the months. Grand Arbiter Quool floated to the center of the chamber, its jellyfish-like body glowing with formal purple light. The room fell silent. We gathered today to finalize the vote on Earth's membership in the Galactic Confederacy, Quool announced. Before we begin, General Krax of the Vraxian Unity has requested to speak. A murmur went through the crowd as Krax stepped forward. His scales were a formal blue-green pattern that humans had learned indicated serious intent. He had been the strongest voice against human membership for much of the past year, though his position had softened in recent months. Fellow members of the Confederacy, Krax began, his voice carrying through the chamber. When humans first approached us, I was among those who feared them most. Their hands seemed to me weapons that could never truly be surrendered. He paused, looking directly at the human delegation. I was both right and wrong. Right that human hands are unlike any appendages in the Confederacy. Wrong about what that means for us all. From a pouch at his side, Krax removed a small object, the clay figure of himself that Grace had made a year earlier. This was created by human hands, he said, holding it up. The same hands that can perform surgery so delicate it saves lives we once thought lost. The same hands that have repaired technology our best engineers could not fix. The same hands that now teach our children new ways to create and build. He set the figure down carefully. Yes, these hands can harm. Just as my blade can harm. Just as Zixtol's talons can harm. The difference is not in the appendage, but in the mind that controls it. Krax's scales shifted to a color humans had learned meant conviction. I withdraw my opposition to Earth's membership. More than that, I formally move that humans be accepted with full rights and privileges, with only the reasonable security protocols we have developed together over this past year. The chamber erupted in the various sounds of approval from dozens of species. Charlotte turned to her team, a rare smile breaking through her diplomatic calm. When order was restored, Grand Arbiter Quool called for the formal vote. One by one, representatives from each species registered their position. When it was done, the result was clear. Earth would become the 18th member of the Galactic Confederacy. As part of the ceremony that followed, Charlotte and Elijah were called to the center of the chamber. Grand Arbiter Quool hovered before them. As is our tradition, new members exchange a formal gesture of alliance, Quool explained. Normally, this would involve the ceremonial surrender of weapons. In your case, we recognize this is impossible. Instead, Quool extended one of its glowing tendrils. Charlotte reached out her bare hand, palm up. The tendril came to rest gently on her palm. 1 year ago, this appendage caused fear, Hool announced to the assembly. Today, it symbolizes our recognition that the most versatile tools can be used for the greatest good or the greatest harm. It is not the hand that decides. It is the mind that guides it. After the ceremony, there was a celebration unlike any the humans had seen before. Species that had once kept their distance now mingled freely with the Earth delegation. Tekmal found Elijah near a viewing window that looked out at the stars. The insectoid scientist had become something of a friend over the past year. "Admiral Morgan, I have good news," Tekmal said. "The Science Council has approved my proposal. We will establish a joint research program on manual dexterity and tool use. Several species believe they can improve their own appendages based on what we've learned from humans." "That's wonderful," Elijah said. "From feared to copied in just 1 year." "Not just copied," Tekmal corrected. "Understood. That is the greater achievement." Across the room, Grace was showing a group of young aliens from various species how to shape clay with their different appendages. Each created something unique to their biology and perspective. Kevin, who had become head of security cooperation, was demonstrating the new protocol gloves to a group of diplomats. The gloves, developed jointly by human and alien scientists, changed color based on hand position and muscle tension, allowing other species to read human intentions more easily. "A useful tool," commented Admiral Zix Toll, who had joined the group. "Though I find I rarely need them now to understand human gestures." Alan and Nathan had gathered with medical specialists from 6 different species. They were discussing a new surgical technique that combined human manual precision with alien technological innovations. Already the collaboration had saved lives across the Confederacy. Lisa found Charlotte standing quietly away from the main celebration. "You did it," Lisa said. "You got Earth into the Confederacy." Charlotte shook her head. "We all did it. Every human who came here and showed them who we really are." "There's still the matter of the special protocols," Lisa pointed out. "We're the only species required to follow special hand gesture rules in formal meetings." Charlotte smiled. "A small price to pay, and frankly, a reasonable precaution. We are different. Recognizing that difference is part of respecting each other." As the celebration continued, General Krax approached them. His child was with him, proudly carrying the clay figure that had become something of a symbol over the past year. "Ambassador Reynolds," Krax said formally, "my family would be honored if you would visit Frax Prime next month. We are opening a cultural exchange center, and many of our people wish to learn more about humans." "The honor would be ours," Charlotte replied. As the general moved away, Charlotte looked out at the chamber full of diverse beings from across the galaxy. "Who would have thought," she said quietly, "that our hands would first keep us apart, then bring us together?" Later that night, after the celebration ended, Elijah stood alone on an observation deck looking out at the stars that were now open to humanity. He held up his hand against the backdrop of distant suns and countless worlds. "Not bad for a simple tool," he said to himself, smiling at the irony that had become a common joke among humans in the Confederacy. In the years that followed, the phrase unarmed human became an amusing contradiction in diplomatic circles, acknowledged even by humans themselves. Special gloves with mood-indicating colors became standard for human diplomats, not out of fear, but as a courtesy to species who could not read human facial expressions. Human medical techniques using manual dexterity revolutionized Confederacy medicine, saving countless alien lives. Human artists created works that touched emotions across species boundaries. Human engineers built with a versatility that complemented the specialized skills of other beings. The very trait that had caused fear had indeed become humanity's greatest contribution to the galactic community. And though the protocol requiring humans to follow special hand movement rules in formal meetings remained in place, it was now understood less as a restriction and more as a recognition of human uniqueness. They were different, yes. But as the Confederacy had learned, different did not always mean dangerous. Sometimes it simply meant new possibilities.